So, question 1. How does my product uses or challenges horror conventions and how does it represent social groups and issues? My film is called The Last Ride. It's a psychological horror short film about a university student who gives a lift to a stranger at night. And slowly, strange things start happening inside the car. At the end of the film, he finds a missing poster in the back seat and realizes the hitchhiker he has been driving died a year ago. So let's start with conventions. Horror as a genre has very specific set of conventions and I made a deliberate decision to use several of them because they work, they communicate fear quickly and effectively to an audience who already understand the visual language of horror. And the first convention I used was setting horror thrives in confined, isolated space. A dark forest, an abandoned building. I choose a car at night. A car is one of the most claustrophobic setting you can use because you're trapped, you can't leave, and you're completely alone. With whoever is sitting next to you, it immediately signals vulnerability to the audience without a single line of dialogue. The second was lighting. I use LED lights with a red and blue gel paper to recreate the atmosphere inside the car. Red light is universal understood as danger. It uses in horror cinema constantly, from Suspiria to It Follows. Audience read red as warning signs before anything overtly scary has even happened. I wanted the audience to feel uncomfortable from the very first shot, and the lighting does that work without the script having to spell it out. The third was sound and silence. I used silence deliberately, long pauses, minimal dialogues, ambient sound that create unease. The hitchhiker barely speaks with its deeply unsettling. Rethinking that uncertainty is exactly what horror feeds on. But I also made choices that push me against conventions in interesting ways. And the one and I think those are the most creative, interesting decision in my film. The hitchhiker in my film is not a villain, he's a ghost. But he's not threatening, he's just present. He died tragically in a lot of mainstream horror. The supernatural entity exists to harm. It's a monster, a killer, a force of evil in my film. The horror comes entirely from the mystery and the reveal, the realization that something impossible has been happening. There is no monster to defeat, there is nothing you can do. And I think that makes it more psychologically unsettling because there is no resolution, just the weight of being discovered. I also challenge the typical horror protagonist. The lead in the horror film is usually special in some way. They're the chosen one or an expert who survives through the strength and intelligence. My protagonist is just an ordinary university student doing something kind. He is not reckless, not foolish. He is not just asking for trouble. He gave someone a lift. And that's what makes it frightening because it could be any one of us. There is no lesson here about what to do. Some things just happen. In terms of representation, my film represents young people and specifically the anxiety that many young people feel about safety and vulnerability. The protagonist is a university student, a social group that rarely represents in horror. As sympathetic, ordinary, and good, he is shown as a kind and responsible, and yet something completely beyond his control has happened to him. I think that's meaningful because so much horror punishes character for bad decisions. Mine doesn't. He does the right thing. The film also engages with the very real anxiety a lot of young people have about traveling alone at night, trusting strangers, the sense of vulnerability that comes with being young in this world. The fear is authentic, it's something my target audience genuinely live with. My film does not exploit that, it acknowledges it. To summarize, I use horror conventions like confined spaces, symbolic lighting, and silence to communicate fear effectively because I wanted the film to feel fluent in the genre. I challenged conventions by making supernatural presence rather than evil, by grounding the protagonist in ordinary relatable experience rather than a genre archetype. And in terms of representation, the film depicts a young person caught in something impossible through no fault of their own, which I believe resonates genuinely with the audience I made it for.